Maybe we can look inside and swallow all our selfish pride. Accept me for who I am. I can't be you, you can't be me. We can live together in a harmony. Accept me for who I am. I accept me for who I am. I accept me for who I am. I accept me for who I am. Accept me for who I am. I can't be you, you can't be me. We can live together in harmony. Accept me for who I am. Ever since I met you, you've been trying to change me. Well, I'm not doing it your way. This is all I have to say. Accept me for who I am. I can't be you, you can't be me. We can live together in harmony. Accept me for who I am. Accept me, accept me, accept me, only me. Accept me, accept me, accept me, only me. Accept me for who I am. I can't be you, you can't be me. We can live together in harmony. Accept me for who I am. Accept me for who I am. The choice is really up to you. Cause you can win and I can lose. So go on, get out of my life. If you don't want to do what's right, accept me for who I am. I can't be you, you can't be me. We can live together in harmony. Accept me for who I am. Accept me, accept me, accept me, only me. Accept me, accept me, accept me, only me. Accept me for who I am. I can't be you, you can't be me. We can live together in harmony. Accept me for who I am. Accept me for who I am.
All right, all right, all right. Hi, everyone. Hello, hello, hello. I am trying to, I'm using a new, guys, we're trying some new stuff tonight. So please bear with me as I try to pull it together. Okay, I don't even know. I'm so lost, guys. Give me a moment. One moment, guys. One moment. Hey, if you guys are watching on YouTube, on Facebook Live, come on over to YouTube. Type in, stop the screen, baby. I need you to stop that screen, please. Thank you, baby. There we go. Hello. Hello, hello. Baby, will you turn that light on so we can look more like that? Hello, everybody. Hi. Hey, everybody on live. I see you guys. Hey, listen, if you're on live, come on over to YouTube. Jump onto YouTube and come to the Trans Sister Radio Show on YouTube live. And we're live right now, and you'll get a full of everything. Because right now, I'm sure you guys can't see very much of everything. So if you're on live on Facebook, you can watch it from here, but you won't get a chance to see all of our guests once they get here. But if you jump onto YouTube, you can, okay? How are you guys doing? How's everybody? How is everybody? It's such a, I'm so glad everybody's here. Y'all, you guys, it has been a crazy, 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 crazy week. Crazy busy week. Like, I've been out of my mind. I don't feel very prepared for this show, but nonetheless, it's going to go on because we're here. And I'm so excited because on this episode, I have a very special co-host, as you guys see. It's the love of my life. Of course, we're talking about trans attraction today, so it was completely appropriate that I would bring on my love. This is my husband, Robert, for those of you guys who don't know. Hey, baby. What's up? You want to say anything to people?
I guess.
He is not a man of a lot of words, guys. But tonight we're going to try to get him talking a little bit because when he does speak, he has some things to definitely say. I wish I could see you guys on Facebook Live, what you guys are saying. Do you want to bring that closer again? Oh, you can see that? Okay. So, hi, everybody on YouTube. I mean, Facebook Live. Hello, everyone. I was just saying, come on over to YouTube. Come on over to YouTube Live. We are live right now on the YouTube channel. It is going to be the Trans Sister Radio Show. And you will see the live link. We are live right now on the show. And then that way you'll be able to see the full show, right? Right, babe? Yeah. It's been a crazy day. Are you excited? Are you nervous? You got my glitter all over you. I'm so glad he decided to do this with me, guys. It's gonna be a good show. Hopefully it'll be a good show. But first, of course, you guys who know me know that I like to start off with a topic of something that's going on in the world right now, a current event. And so today, just for a little bit, I want to talk about Kavanaugh. Because that's the biggest thing going on right now, guys, right? Kavanaugh and Dr. Ford's accusations and the other 3 women's accusations against Kavanaugh. So that's the biggest thing right now. And this week we've been on a roller coaster of emotions with all of the crap that is going on. It is ridiculous to me. If any of you guys watched the hearing, it was one of the most atrocious things I think I've ever seen. It just, if it had been anyone else, hey, Joe, I wish I could see what you were saying. Can you tell me what Joe was saying?
I'm here.
Oh, yay, Joe! I'm so excited. So, that's exciting, Joe. Cool.
Ezra.
Okay. Hey, Joe, I'm going to actually need you to send me, inbox me your email address ASAP, please. But anyway, so we were talking about Kavanaugh. So yeah, crazy stuff going on with that whole situation. Sadly, guys, I think he's going to get, I think he's going to get passed through. I think that this Republican Party that is in the office right now is so concerned about their party that they are going to be willing to go ahead and pass through this man who I personally believe is just a sexist, nasty, privileged, spoiled son of a bitch. Tiara Latrice said it on the Tiara Latrice show, Trans Sister Radio Show. Brett Kavanaugh is a lying son of a bitch. And he does not need to, and the temper that he displayed during his show, the temper that he displayed during the little show that they had the other day was absolutely the #1 reason why that man should not be in office at all. He should not be in that seat whatsoever. That temperament is not a temperament of someone that's going to be in a lifetime seat in our Supreme Court justice system. This will affect all of us, particularly our community. If you guys have ever researched Kavanaugh, some of his thoughts and his ideas are like some of the things that he believes in are very, very detrimental to our living, our being, period. So make sure you guys are, it's so important. Next week we have, correct. Next week we have on Mr. from the Florida House of Representatives. Our state's representative is going to be here. His name is Carlos Smith. I'm so absolutely excited to have him. He's such an amazing guy. And he's going to be here talking to you guys about the importance, talking to all of us about the importance of voting and how important it is We couldn't get Mr. Gillum on the show because he's an extremely busy man, but we were able to get the next best thing. So next week, right here, we're going to have Florida State Representative Carlos Smith is going to be here, and that's October 7th at 8 p.m. The new time for our show is 8 p.m. As many of you guys may know or may not know, I was recently cast in with one of the guests that's on tonight, actually. We're cast in a upcoming show called The Wiz. For those of you guys who know, I'm sure most of y'all know who The Wiz is or what The Wiz is. But we're definitely casting that, and that'll be December 8th. We're opening here in Apopka, Florida at the Piedmont Wakaiba Performing Arts Center. So super excited about that. And I wanted to let you guys know, too, in regards to that, if you are in the local area and you want to purchase tickets to that show, right now until Tuesday, we have a 48-hour flash sale, which means that you can pick up our VIP package, which is generally priced at $50 for half price. So for just $25 today until Tuesday, you will be able to purchase a ticket to The Wiz on December 8th. There will be 2 shows. That's going to be the 2 p.m. and 7 p.m. will be the shows. So get your tickets today. You can go to lavariusslaughter.com/tickets and get the tickets there. No code is needed. Just select flash sale. Okay, guys? So make sure you guys get your tickets because it's going to be exciting and fun. I'm so super excited for you guys to see this production.
Mention the VIP.
If they're VIP tickets. Thank you, baby.
Literally cheaper than general admission, red carpet, everything.
Absolutely.
$25 for VIP.
Absolutely. Like he said, they're literally cheaper than red carpet. Now, for those of you guys who are viewing right now, do me a favor and share this video. For those of you guys who are watching on Facebook Live, do me a favor and come on over to YouTube and search for the Trans Sister Radio Show Live. And you will see us here and you'll be able to get a full idea of what the show looks like from this perspective. I'm so appreciative of all of you guys being here. We're going to have a great show tonight. Tonight we are talking about, what were we talking about, babe?
Attraction.
Trans attraction. We're talking about trans attraction tonight, guys. So it's going to be a good show. It's going to be a very good show. Interesting. I'm excited to hear about, here's some of the other ideas. I had 2 gentlemen, and I want to make a note about this. I had 2 gentlemen that were supposed to be on tonight previously that canceled at the last moment, decided they didn't want to come on for whatever reason. They were supposed to be representing the trans men who are trans-attracted men. I do have a couple of trans-attracted guys on tonight that I'm absolutely excited about being here tonight. I just want to let you guys know that the people that you saw on the flyers, the 2 gentlemen that you saw on the flyers, will not be here tonight. They canceled earlier today, okay? So anyways, with that out of the way, baby, what are we talking about? What's up? What's up? You ready to get this show started? You're ready to bring on the guests, huh? All right, guys, so we're ready to bring on our guests then, Let's get them an invite sent over. You guys bear with me a couple moments, and we're going to get them an invite sent over, and we're gonna get everybody on, okay? So what are you guys doing? Talk to, that's the other thing. We really want you guys to talk to us through the comment section. So let us know what your input is. If you have any questions, please put them in the comment section because we will be checking those. We want to know what you have to say. This is not just about the people that will be on this panel. It's about you guys as well, okay? So make sure while we're doing this, you guys share this. I'll say it once again for those of you guys that are watching on Facebook. I see that there's quite a few of you guys. Hey, thank you so much for watching. For those of you guys watching on Facebook, if you want to experience the fullness of what the show is about, then come on over to YouTube and then look for the Trans Sister, Trans, Sister, Sister radio show on YouTube, and then go to the live. We are currently live right now on YouTube. Yeah. Robert's going to post the link to the YouTube on the live, huh?
It's in the comments.
Oh, Kirk has already placed the link to the YouTube. So, like I said, if you're watching on Facebook, go ahead. I want to bring on one of our guests for the first time ever. You guys see, we have a whole new setup. You are my light, big girl. So, you guys, listen. We for the first time ever, you guys see we have a little bit of a different setup tonight. We've got a co-host with me who's not doing very much co-hosting yet, but we've got a co-host with me tonight. And so we also have another guest that's here with us in the studio today. So without any further ado, this gentleman is here as a representative. He is a gay male entertainer. I'm sure you guys all know him. He is a well-known name all across Central Florida. And he happens to be attracted to trans men. So that's what he's here for today. And I'm so glad to have him. This is my nephew, one of my best friends. Love him to death. Let's welcome Kirk Da Vinci, everybody. Kirk Da Vinci.
I'm gonna move quick so I won't be in your life.
Okay, don't mess up my life. I ain't playing no. Diego, you gotta watch out, buddy. Watch out. Diego said he wanted to be on with us, y'all. Kirk Da Vinci is with us. Yay! This is like couch friend.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me get everybody else on, guys, and then let's get this conversation started. Okay, baby, you know you got to do this. I'm so confused.
IT on L9.
Okay, I need to get to no. Oh, while I'm inviting them, guys, I want you guys to take a look at something really quick. I want you guys to watch the mentality. Babe, I'm gonna have to get up there and do this.
Okay.
I want you guys to watch the mentality. I got it, baby. Thank you. Of Kavanaugh fans. Okay, so take a look at this, guys, while we're trying to get everybody else in. All right. All right.
What are your thoughts on Judge Kavanaugh?
I hope he gets in. I personally feel like he's innocent. I hope he gets in personally because I want abortion to stop. And so I really feel like even if it turns out he's guilty, this doesn't apply for every situation, but even if it turns out he's guilty, I think I'm still going to support him, and I hope he gets in because this could be a good chance to overturn abortion.
Guys, that is probably the mentality of so many people in this Kavanaugh situation. You know, if he gets in, if he's innocent, it's okay. I just want to make sure he gets in because if he gets in, he'll end blase. If he gets in, he'll end blase. That's a really dangerous mentality to have in this country, and it really is kind of scary. Hey, Daniel, I see you coming in. My guests are ready to come in, guys. So once they all get in, I will introduce you to the rest of them. Kirk, what's going on with you?
I'm good. How you be?
Doing good.
But we had a great rehearsal today for The Wiz. You got more parts and more parts.
Just keep on adding up. I'm okay with it. I'll take them out.
Right.
Here's everybody. Just waiting on Justina. Waiting on Justina. And I forgot I can do that. All right, so while we're waiting on Justina to come on in, we are going to, let's introduce some folks. So, starting with, you guys know her, you love her, I know her, I love her. She's on point. She's always very, very outspoken. She does some amazing things for our community. She has a scholarship, which I'm going to let her tell you guys a little bit about. She is the founder and the CEO of the hashtag Say No to Silicone Foundation, the initiative which is an amazing initiative that I also want her to tell us a little bit about. So without any further ado, let's welcome Miss Tiara Cassadine. Hey, Tiara.
I had to turn the mute off. Hey, how are y'all doing?
Good. Well, tell us a little bit about Say No to Silicone and about who you are.
Okay, so I'm Tiara Cassadine. I am the founder of Say No to Silicone Injections, which is something I started after my issues with silicone injections, noticing that other people were experiencing the same thing. Through founding Say No to Silicone Injections, I was then put in a position where I could start a scholarship fund. So I started raising money in order to help people with their transition, so that people transition the right way and the healthy way. And that's just basically by going to a primary care physician, seeing a psychiatrist to make sure that everything you are doing is on point. There is a scholarship that is available. If you're looking me up on Facebook, you can actually contact my campaign page, which is Say No to the numeric number silicone injections, and you will see a link for the scholarship application. And I'm also an active member of the Black Trans Advocacy Coalition.
Fantastic. Awesome. We're so excited to have you. Thank you so much for being here today. Next on our show this evening, we have Joe. If you're watching, I sent you the invite. You have to open up your Gmail and go to your Google Hangouts to get the invite to join us. So let me know if you got it, Joe. Next on our show tonight, though, on our panel, we have an amazing young man. I have watched this young man for a while, and I've watched how much he defends and he stands up for what he believes in. He's definitely an open, trans-attracted young man, and I'm so glad that he's on today. This is Daniel Scott. Hey, Daniel, how are you?
Hey, how is everybody doing?
Doing good. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm 34. I'm Brooklyn, New York, born and raised, and I'm openly trans attracted.
Fantastic. That's awesome. Thank you so much for being here. And then next we have, she's my sister. She's a really dear friend of mine. And the reason why she's on today is because she's a different story that you don't hear quite often. And it was something that I thought needed to be added to this conversation. She identifies herself as a lesbian. And she is married to a trans man. We had a show a couple of episodes ago called This is America, All Things Trans 2 with the trans guys. And her husband was on that episode. And she's here with us today. This is Justina Parker. Hey, Justina.
Hey, how are you? Can you hear me?
No, you hit your camera.
Okay, can you hear me now?
We see you now.
Yay.
Hey, Justina, so we're so glad you're here with us today. Tell us a little bit about who you are.
I'm originally from Missouri. I lived in Missouri most all of my life. I lived in New York for a few years. I met my husband in a lesbian group on Facebook. I lived in Missouri. He lived here. And so for a few months, we kind of talked, over Skype and things like that. And then I came here to meet him. And so I've just been here ever since. And it's been 6 years now.
Awesome. Thank you so much. But we're so glad to have you. I'm excited about this show. And lastly, well, not lastly, because we're waiting on one more person to come in. But next, you guys saw her a couple weeks ago. Was it last week? Last week, right? Last week, I think it was. You guys saw her on my show previously. I loved her. It was probably my favorite interview to conduct so far because she and I just have such a vibe together. And I'm so excited that she's here. And tonight she's got a guest with her too. And I'm super excited about that as well. So let's welcome back to the show, Miss Crystal LaBeija.
Hello. I'm not popping up on screen.
Okay, you're there. I see you.
Can you? Oh, okay, cool. How you doing?
Hey. So tell us a little bit about who you are, and then tell us who you got with you tonight.
Okay, well, I'm Crystal LaBeija. I have curated a 6-month internship for TGNC leaders that are aspiring to be advocates and learn self-defense. And me and my husband, we founded GHTV, and that's a way that we can through media include and have a space to control our narrative. And so yeah, we've been married for 5 years, and this is like one of the first times that I've seen a panel about transamorous love and stuff. So I totally am looking forward to the conversation.
And that's the reason why I wanted to. Hey, okay, Joe. So if you're on your Google, you already have Jesus. I don't know what gospel music just started playing out of nowhere, y'all. Yes. So Joe, the invite I sent you, it'll be in your Gmail or your Google Hangouts. So Google Hangouts, click on it, pull it up, and then there'll be an invite to join this. Hopefully you'll get it figured out. If you have any questions, text Robert. Okay. So let's get this conversation started, you guys, all right? Yeah. We've done a lot of pre-talking, and so let's get the conversation going. So I want to start off with talking a little bit about the difference between a chaser and a trans-attracted man. Okay, guys? So, now, for those of you guys who are watching who may not know what that terminology means, in the trans world, if someone is called a chaser, generally, from my understanding at least, what I normally mean is that it's someone who is not necessarily attracted to the point of wanting to date someone who is trans, but they will come knocking on your door at 12 o'clock at night for a little bit of nookie, or they will whisper your number to you in a public environment, but they're not about putting in the commitment or anything else to go along with that. And then, of course, a trans-attracted person to me is someone who is attracted to a transgender individual, someone who is openly attracted to someone who is like me. So what do you guys think? Talia, let's start with you. What's your idea of the difference between trans-attracted and chaser?
You just would have to start with me. Okay, so I don't. Myself personally, I don't use the chasers word.
Right.
And the reason why I don't is because it's really not their fault if they're chasing, as people say, because we are actually allowing. And that word wouldn't even be in existence if we weren't enabling people to think that they're allowed to just treat us that type of way. So I sit around and I really think about what people mean by chasing, and I think about what I went through, just basically going through puberty, and some of the same characteristics that somebody would say about a chaser is the same type of characteristics I was experiencing when I was going through puberty and really experiencing new things and coming into myself. But I think that I just can't. We use that whole chasers thing as a negative thing instead of us actually changing how we respond to them to get them out of that stage. Because had my life not changed in a different way, I probably would have been still considered that type of person. And just as a little information about me, I've dated everything. I've dated trans women, I've dated trans men, I've dated cis women, I've dated gay boys, everything. So all of those experiences were new to me, and when they were new to me, it was like, oh girl, let's just try to get this. Yeah. I wasn't thinking about nothing else, but the thing is, I was allowed to do it by the people that I was attracted to. And when it just comes to trans-attracted individuals, it's the same thing. It's just one is willing to take it a step further.
Absolutely, 100%. And I also feel that, and I think it's kind of what you were just saying, is that we don't for example, Kirk, I'm coming to you next. For example, Kirk is a gay male, right? He's a gay man. And we don't say that because he likes men that he's a man chaser. You know, like he just happens to be a gay man who likes what he likes. So I just think that kind of labeling or is causing more confusion than anything. Does that make sense to Liam?
Yeah, and you know, it's something else that I thought of because I'm from the country, y'all. So I remember my father once telling me, if you're gonna go out there and be sexually experimenting, then experiment with the ugly ones so you won't catch feelings. I was, you know, I'm not, I'll kid you not. This is what my father used to tell us, and you know, being from the country, that's how we were. It was like, okay, get your experience in, and then get serious later on.
Yeah.
So a lot of, and I'm pretty sure if I was raised that way, there's a lot of men that was probably raised that way, you know, as well. So, not calling myself a man now. Let me make sure I get that right. but yeah, I'm just saying that my experiences may be similar to someone else's, and they may just be trying to sow their wild oats.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we just can't put everybody in a box.
Amen to that. Kirk,
Yes.
so asking you the same question. As someone who is attracted, as a gay man who is attracted to trans men, would you consider yourself to be a trans man chaser? Or I know you've told me that you've previously dated trans men, right?
Yes.
Like you in long-term relationships.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about that. What's your idea? How do you feel about trans chasers and trans attraction?
Actually, the first trans man that I was ever been with in a relationship or anything, of course, when I seen him, I seen a man. So I just seen a very attractive male. Got to know him, talked, went out, everything. When it came to the part to be romantic, of course, he let me know at that time. And I say, okay, first time for everything, let's try it out. Kind of like Talia, I try out everything. So I had, we partook at that time. Of course, used protection because at that time he was still able to possibly get pregnant or whatever the situation may be. But and from that point forward, we just had an emotional connection. It was definitely, you know, very different with the experience. I had never been with a woman before. So the experience of a vagina was different. At the same token, I still like the emotional connection and the dialect of the growth of the relationship that we have.
Okay. Now, I'm Daniel. I am definitely coming to you with this question in just a moment, and Justine, I'm definitely getting you too. But Crystal, I gotta know. I need y'all to chime in. I need to know what you guys' input is on this.
I mean, would you want to talk about it?
Oh wait, I'm sorry. Listen, let me tell y'all. So I'm trying out a new system, like I said. And this system, hold on, I'm sorry, Crystal, give me a minute.
Okay.
Okay, there we go.
You can hear it now? Okay. Well, I mean, like, I agree with a lot that's been said. I don't really agree with the whole chaser term. I feel like people are in different stages of their lives, and as consenting adults, as long as they're not raping anybody, they can, you know, they have right over their body. And if they want to be friendly while not settling down, then that's their choice. I think the extra name calling just makes things more problematic for the things that we already face.
Absolutely agree. And Jeremy, let's hear from you. You'll start off the trans attracted men. And I if you guys are not okay with that label, I do apologize.
I'm not really familiar with the language so much because I'm not that invested in the language.
Okay. Awesome. Okay.
I'm not so much invested in the trans man community.
Gotcha.
In that manner.
I got you completely.
So it's kind of, I'm trying to see how I can appropriately put this. You know, I'm just married.
Gotcha.
You know, that's pretty much been it. I've pretty much been advocating from a point, a nice pinpoint. That's all I'm gonna give you.
Gotcha. Absolutely. It's kind of like what Robert always says. Robert says constantly that he, you know, people are like, well, do you consider yourself to be gay or do you consider yourself to be bi? And Robert says, I love women, but I mean, I like women, but I fell in love with Tiara. Like, it's so there is no labeling there. Is that kind of what you mean there, Jeremy? Yeah. Okay. Okay. Now, here I come to you, Daniel. Same question for you. As an openly trans attracted man, I've been in chats where I've defended you myself when you're being called out for being a chaser and whatever. So tell us what is your input on here?
What is my what?
Oh, gotta turn you up. Hold on. I know it. Jesus. We're gonna make it through the night, y'all. I promise. All right, let's see. Oh, there we go. All right, Daniel, you're good.
Okay. What is my input? Well, my input is like this. I mean, as being openly trans attracted, I feel like the terms chaser and trans attracted are often used interchangeably within this community. Like too often, in fact. Like it seems like when you're openly trans attracted, it seems like you get hit with the chaser label.
Absolutely. And that's sad. That's so sad because literally you're just a man who likes women who are special, you know, like I personally have never been able to get past people who attack people who are openly trans attracted like yourself. Like, is that not what we want? Because, you know, like, I is that not what we want? Daniel, let me ask you. How do you know that you were attracted?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, did you hear me?
Yeah, no, excuse me. Could you repeat the question? I'm sorry.
No problem. I said, when did you know that you were trans attracted?
When did I know? It was. It was. I would say it's like. It was like in my early mid-20s.
Early mid-20s?
Yeah.
Okay. So have you only dated trans women since then, or are you also still attracted to cis women?
Let me say I only dated trans women.
Okay. Okay.
Because my ex is trans and my new girlfriend I'm talking to now is trans. So.
Okay. All right. And that's awesome. And like for those of you guys who may be watching and are not familiar with the term trans, are not familiar with the term cis. Cis is basically, to put it in layman's terms, is basically a woman who's not of the trans experience, or a person that's not of trans experience, or of non-gender conforming experience. Someone who identifies as the gender given to them at birth. So okay, I need to figure out a way to, because I want my guests to be able to chime in still too, whenever they want to.
They need to move their phone.
Yeah. So you guys, I don't want to have to keep putting you guys on mute myself because it messes up things. So if you guys will just put yourselves on mute, I'm going to put you guys back on regular volume here. And then if you have something to say, just chime in. Because the only time that you pop up on the screen, guys, is when you say something, when you're speaking. So. All right. So Babe, you're the last one. What is the difference, or tell us how you feel about trans attraction and the other.
I don't know. I mean, trans people are still, what they want to be, and if you're attracted to that.
Yeah. Do you know anything about prior to us meeting? Would you have considered yourself a trans chaser or someone that was attracted to trans individuals?
Not at all. It was definitely meeting Tiara that opened my mind.
And was it was it something that you had ever thought about before? Daniel, I want to ask you the same thing, and Kirk, I want to ask you the same thing as well. Was this something that prior to you guys acting on, was it something that you had thought about or fantasized about, or was it something I know that I dated a man a while ago who told me that it had always been his dream. Like it had always been what he dreamed about since he was young, was to date a trans woman. So was that something that you guys have experienced? Had you thought about it much before? No?
Definitely not with me. My first experience with the trans man was not ever any knowledge or anything about it was with that guy.
How about you, Daniel?
I would say yes. It had always intrigued me from an early age. Because I'm a child of the '90s, and when I was growing up, I really hate to say this, but I grew up with a lot of shows like Donahue and Jerry Springer, which featured a lot of transgender women. So it was I'm like, wow, I'm like, these women are gorgeous. I'm bowled over, I'm like flabbergasted. I'm like, wow, I'm like, I wonder, coming into puberty, I'm like, oh wow, So when I finally did it, I just kind of breathed a sigh of relief, and I'm like, okay, this is what it is.
Yeah. Okay. And now, Justina, saving the best for last, I'm going to ask you the question. The difference between now you and I live together. You see some of the people I've dated. You right in the experiences with me, so you have some firsthand knowledge. And then right after me, you had another trans woman living with you. Your husband is a trans man who's very involved in the community. So I definitely want to know from your perspective as a woman who identifies as first of all, would you say that it was something that you had ever thought about prior to meeting Cameron, dating a trans man? And then what changed if not?
No, I had never thought of being with a trans guy. To be honest, I met another trans guy right before I met my husband Cameron, and his name was Carmen, and he only lived about 15 minutes away from me in Missouri. But with him, it was just, you want a penis, I'm all set. I don't see how this is going to work out. And that was my whole mentality. I had no interest whatsoever. And then when I met Cameron, I didn't even realize at first that Cam was trans. We met in a lesbian group on Facebook. And so I thought Cam was just a little study lesbian, And then one day, one of the girls in the group posted a picture of a trans guy and said, would you ever date a trans guy? And my first response was, absolutely fucking not, And so Cameron was like, we should talk. So for me, honestly, by the time he told me he was trans, it didn't matter to me. You know what I'm saying? It's never mattered to me that he's been trans. But I've never been attracted to anyone who was trans before that. I never even thought about being with anyone who was trans. The first trans woman I ever met traumatized the hell out of me. So, it was just not something that was ever on my radar. And me being from Missouri, transgender is not a term that you hear. You don't meet trans people. You don't hear people talk about trans people. You just don't, because that's not It's not accepted in Missouri. So it's not something that I ever even heard until I met Cameron and then came down here and started meeting you guys and everybody else, that I started even understanding all these terms. When it comes to a tranny chaser, what they call them, in my mind, that's just a person who only likes to sleep with trans people. That's the only thing that I think of when I think of somebody that they call a chaser. But to me, I only like to sleep with women. But I love my husband. You know what I mean? So I don't know. Like I don't believe in the terms. I think they're stupid.
Absolutely. I wanted to go to the comments for a moment. One of our viewers, Joe, who we're trying to get on the show because Joe is also an openly attracted man, and I think he has a lot of things, a lot of great things to say. But we're having some technical issues. It's through here. We can send it to you. Bear with me, guys. Okay. So yeah, so we are. Oh, so Joe was saying. Joe in the chat said that everybody who is, or everyone, anyone that is openly likes trans women is labeled a chaser. Talia, do you agree with that?
Not from my point of view. I see an individual as the individual before I sit around and try to put labels on a person. But at the same time, our community has been so oppressed that it's almost a hurting others. And we made up a word to hurt people because we are hurt. But in actuality, what you're pretty much saying is the man is a hoe. Just call it what it is. Because the same girls that are sitting here calling these men attracted chasers, y'all is just as hoish as he is, because y'all in the inbox dropping titty pictures, y'all in the inbox dropping ass pictures, y'all sitting here sending pictures with your little pasties on and all that type of shit, but you expect for him to not throw a dick picture out there?
Right.
Some of these girls really need to change their verbiage and just call it what it is. You a hoe, he a hoe. Y'all go be hoes together.
Come on, Talia. Come on.
Exactly.
Absolutely right. 100%, 100%. Crystal, I saw you were loving that. You agree with that?
Oh, most definitely. Most definitely. I totally do. 100%.
For sure. And I personally just think that when I hear chaser, now I want to make sure that we make this clear too, because I believe that there are going to be people watching this in the future, and probably people that are watching right now that are very brand new to this whole thing. So I want to make sure that the piece that I'm going to be giving tonight is going to be a lot of education. So for those of you guys who, I want to say this as well. I think that, babe, you can smoke that on screen. We got a weed flag sitting behind us. It's all
so much. You're so wonderful.
I saw Justina smoking. I know Bristol probably gonna line up. So come on, you come out here, baby. Anyways, so let's see. Aiden says, I'm a trans man and I love trans women. That's awesome, Aiden. That's awesome. We love that you're living in your truth. Adam says, hells yeah. I was like, I thought, oh. Justina, that was about you. He thought you were smoking a cigarette, but it's not. It's a blunt. It looks like Joe came on. Joe, is that you that joined us there? Oh, I have your camera off. Hold on, let me get you off. He doesn't have a camera? Joe, how do you not have a camera? You got a camera on your phone. You lying.
I am.
Oh. Joe, can you hear me? I reckon not.
You should be able to talk.
Yeah, you can hear me, Joe? He muted himself. You muted yourself. Unmute yourself. Can you hear? No, you muted yourself again. Okay, so let's. Oh, there you go. You unmuted yourself. Say something, Joe. Not happening.
I didn't have a microphone on the computer.
Are you on your computer? You're on your PC. You don't have a mic or a. Camera, yeah, he left. Okay, so anyways, all right, so the next thing that I want to talk about, is, since Aiden said that, let's talk a little bit about trans people attracted to other trans people. Let's talk a little bit about that, because I feel like, well, first of all, I want to tell you guys, and this is just me being raw and honest with you, and hopefully there is someone else and I'm not alone in this, but I used to be so confused, for a lack of a better term, about transgender people who dated transgender people. But that was because at that time, I, like so many other people, considered sex, sexuality, and gender, and what's in between someone's legs all one big package. And so what I ended up finding that I was doing was that I was putting all these people in a box, so it was hard for me to get to see or get to understand the concept, even as a trans individual myself, of what it meant to be trans attracted and be a trans person. So I'm going to start with Crystal on this one. Crystal, educate me a little bit about what you know as far as trans attracted from another trans individual. Be that.
Well, personally, I'm not. I haven't dated anyone who happened to be of trans experience, but nonetheless, I tend to, just as if I look at my husband, I see him as he's still a heterosexual male. At the end of the day, I'm just a woman who happened to have gone through puberty in a different fashion than someone who was born with ovaries and an internal clitoris. And so, like, yes, there are some things, just like some women can't be pregnant. I feel I fall more in line with that. So therefore, I don't, like, when I think of two trans people or two people that are together that happens to be trans, I think that that's just two people that were able to connect and understand with each other's experiences more so. And so they found the foundation of their relationship is based solely on mostly the shared experiences that they share and the struggles. And so therefore there's a trust that they kind of can, really hold on dear to.
Absolutely. Talia.
I keep forgetting that mute is on. So you want me trans on trans. Okay, so there's two different sides of it with me. There are some trans women that I actually do find attractive. But I could never act on it. And I think that's just due to preference. But there are some trans women to me that I think are absolutely beautiful. And I'm just sitting here like, girl, you're just like amazing. I could possibly even see myself dating, but I don't think it would probably go too far. But when it comes to trans men, I'm actually usually leaning more toward trans men than cis men, only because there's a lot of conversation that doesn't need to happen. That person he's going through a transition just as well as I'm going through a transition. So do I need to answer transition questions? No, I don't. I just so happen to be an extremely open-minded person that doesn't care if you've had top surgery. I don't care if you've had bottom surgery. All I need to know is what you identify as. You identify as a man? Okay, so I buy it.
That's what you are, right.
But I think it just makes sense. It really just makes sense. It's really a puzzle completed when a trans woman is dating a trans man. Now, would I possibly ever date a cis man one day? Yeah, that could possibly happen. Although my expectations have raised as far as what I will accept. And considering that a trans man can stimulate me mentally because of our experiences, that cis man has to do even more stimulating mentally to get me really, really held on to it, because we all know people lie and they may sound like they're really, really for you, but at the same time, are they really for me or are they just making this up? I don't have to ask that question about the trans man because I can see that my experiences are similar to their experiences. So that's just my take on it.
Absolutely. Kurt, what's going on? What's going on? What do you have to say about the your ideas and opinions and input?
On that topic, me myself, I haven't been involved, in the trans attractor relationship. I guess we'll call it that, or trans attractor couple. I know of a couple in Melbourne. There are two trans men that are dating, and then I know of a couple here in Orlando. Melanie Von Cruz and her boyfriend. She's a trans woman. He's a trans man. And they're dating, so they got it's working out for them. So as long as they see you happy and you are attracted to what or who you were attracted to, that's all that should matter.
I love what Talia said there. It's kind of soaking in my mind. And basically what she was saying is that, it's a completed puzzle. Mm-hmm. And now that I'm thinking about that, it really is. It really is exactly that, a completed puzzle. Because I have always said that one of the biggest things that is going to allow us more freedoms as transgender individuals is when we begin to become a community that is absolutely proud of being transgender individuals. And when I say that, I mean that I believe that if there was more absolute trans pride, that then people would begin to see that trans man as the man that he is, and that trans woman as the woman that she is. Instead of the narrative that we see quite often is that, oh, they're trying to be this, or they want to be this, because I don't think any one of us really in our mind, there are some girls, some I've heard some ignorant things, but there are some people who say, that I set out to be, I want to be a woman. I'm not, there's no way, shape, or form when I do this or I do that or I do this surgery, I do that surgery, I'm going to be a woman and I'm going to leave this life behind. And and please forgive me if no one else agrees with this, but I personally don't feel like that's ever going to be a possibility. You are who you are, and that's a trans person, a person of trans experience. Whether that be post, pre, whatever, it is who you are. And so I believe that even in that, having a sense of, now that doesn't mean you have to walk around displaying who you used to be or whatever, what you were born as. That doesn't mean that at all. But it means that within yourself, if you hold in a sense of pride, and let me tell you guys why I'm saying this. I'm saying this because in my experience, in my life experience, I have had 3 relationships in my life, 3 real relationships in my life. All 3 of them have been long-term. My 3rd one, I got married. And I met those people, and each one of them has always told me, and this may just be my experience, but each one of them has told me that the reason why we got together, or we were together, and those relationships were long-term, 7 years, 9 years, and now I'm going on to 3 years, but we're married, so this one's a lifetime. So and they have all said that the reason why they were so open to dating me and being in those type of relationships was because I am proud of who I am. And that they would feel a sense, I wish my husband was sitting here so he could explain it a little bit better. But they would feel a sense of, they would feel a different way if I were not proud of who I was, because then they would feel like they had to be ashamed of who I was. I would love to hear what you have to say on this. Justina, let's go with you first, and then I'm going to come to you, Daniel.
Okay, what do you want? What do you want to know from me?
So we're talking about trans individuals and like trans on trans, like
To be perfectly honest, I thought it was really weird. I thought it was really strange. Like I don't know. I guess for me in the beginning, I was equating it more to sexuality than gender. You know what I mean? Because like in my mind, a trans woman was a woman, wanted to be a woman, didn't want anything to do with penis. So why would she want to be with a trans guy or with another trans woman or something like that? So in the beginning, I think I equated it more with sexuality than gender. But over time, I've learned a lot more about the difference between the two. And so, like, now I don't think that there's anything wrong at all with two trans people being together. I can totally see how two trans people being in a relationship together could make the perfect relationship because they both understand what the other person is going through. You know, you go through your transition together and you can help each other get through that. And like the one lady said, it's a lot less explaining that you have to do because that other person already knows where you're coming from on things. So like now I've come to a point where I think it's perfectly normal. I think it could be a really healthy relationship.
Okay, absolutely. Yeah, it froze on the laptop, baby. I don't know what's going on. And Daniel, same question for you. And then I also want you to, well, I'll ask you in a minute, but same question for you, Daniel. Trans on trans.
Trans on trans. Well, I personally feel like, just like Justine and just like Talia were explaining, I feel like trans on trans. I mean, shared experiences. I mean, y'all both can help each other transition, and y'all both have better knowledge and understanding of each other. So, I mean, like it seems like it's perfect. Like like a trans man can understand trans woman better and vice versa because y'all going through similar experiences.
Absolutely, absolutely. Like I said, Talia, thank you so much for that statement because it really kind of opened my eyes just now to so many things. Like I've been so close, and I'm the first one to tell you guys that one of the greatest. Oh, you okay, baby? One of the greatest things about this show for me is the education that I receive because I'm not even going to lie to you guys. Like so many other of my trans counterparts, I have lived in my own little bubble of my own little thinking. And that's why I'm loving this era of live chats and live videos and conversations because it's helping to open up people's eyes. Like my eyes are open so much. So what you just said, Talia, made a ton of sense to me. It really is a completed puzzle. But I want to go to the comments really quick. So Aiden, I would love to get you on. Talia said that you would be a great guest, and I would love to hear what you have to say. So if you'd like to come on, drop your email address, your Gmail email address in the comments, and I'll shoot you an invite. We'll see if we can get you on, Aiden, because I'd love to hear what you have to say. So Cece says, Cece, thank you so much for watching. Cece is one of my most faithful viewers. She's here every Sunday, and she has been from the very beginning. I appreciate you, Cece, for being here, and we love you for that. Cece says, love is love. You fall in love with the person, not the gender. Absolutely. Absolutely. Do you agree with that?
That's what I've been saying a long time.
He says that's what he's been saying for a long time now, is that. And I think that's such a beautiful testimony, which is why I'm glad we're doing this show, to those people who get mixed up and get confused and get caught up on genitals and not on falling in love with a person. Because when a man meets a woman, well, let me rephrase that. When a woman meets a man, because men, most of y'all think with your penises. But when a woman meets a man, she doesn't meet him and says, oh, I wonder what he's got in between his legs. She meets him and she gets to know him. And that's one of the stigmas that I believe needs to totally change in our favor. That needs to start happening. When someone meets a transgender person, they don't need to even know that they are transgendered. They just need to know that I like this person.
It's a connection.
There's a connection, absolutely. And then Cece also says, let's see. She also said, okay. What's wrong with trans on trans? Oh, nothing, Cece, nothing at all. There's nothing wrong with trans on trans at all. I think it's actually awesome. I'm discovering that there are a lot more trans men than I ever thought that there were. Like I don't know about anybody else, and let me ask you guys real quick. Am I the only one on this panel that it seems like just within the last few years that trans men have become more and more visible? I love it. I absolutely love it. But when I was growing up, and I've been living trans for 18, 19 years, and it was very few and far in between that I met trans men, or that were at least open about who they were. Talia, do you think this is something, I know it's not new, obviously, but do you think there's a reason why that trend is changing, or?
I wouldn't say that it's a trend, though. Well, I'm just going to speak for myself. I didn't know that trans men even existed until 2014. Mm-hmm. And during that time, I was going through my celibacy. I was so tired of cis men that I just said, you know, hell with it. I don't want to have sex no more. Pornhub and XTube is my best friend for now on. I don't give a damn. And I ran across a trans man at a pageant. And I, of course, you know, even though I completely put the clink down on the panties, I would see attractive men, but I would never want to actually get to know them. But I ran across this trans man, and the way he carried himself, the way he respected me from the jump, made me really interested in him. And I couldn't figure out why was I sitting here trying to save myself all this time, and then all of a sudden this one man all of a sudden started to change my mentality. So I was really trying to figure out what is it. And I asked one of my friends, it's like, who's that guy right there? And of course, you know how some people are, they snitch. And she's like, oh girl, that's a trans man. I'm like, that's what it is. It's a completely different type of man mentally with the connection. And I think that, you know, when we started to, because I want to say they just all of a sudden just came out of the closet. I think they just saw a need to be more visible. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of guys saw a need to support trans women because we weren't having the support through our own gay men in this community. Right. And, you know, since they are in many ways our counterpart, they just started to come out. And I think a lot of them ended up kind of regretting it because, you know, for the longest, trans women were the fetish. And then before you know it, the whole LGBTQIA community turned trans men into the fetish.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And we're going to speak on that in just a few minutes. I'm glad you mentioned that because that was actually the next thing we're going to talk about. But I want to ask Crystal and Jeremy about the trans men, Crystal more so. Crystal, what is your intake on this? Like, have you had, prior to the last few years, have you had many encounters, or were you familiar with the amount and how many beautiful trans brothers we have?
Well, naturally, because testosterone is a stronger hormone, visibly wise, it's hard to really like spook a trans man. So a lot of times, like prior to the trans liberation movement or us pushing for legislation and things of that sort, there was really no need to be visible a lot of times. So that's the reason why you didn't really see many trans men or trans women like you do now. Now it's it was a stance that we all decided to make later in the 2010s, I would say.
Gotcha. I would think too, like Oh, I'm from Chicago, and the ballroom scene is a very big thing in Chicago. And the trans men actually it's very big in the ballroom scene. So that's how I came across them, like, prior to they more start coming out. But I do agree that now they're more coming out and identifying themselves as trans men. And I think the reason is too, like partly what Crystal mentioned in regards to they see that they trans sisters needed help or back or in care. That could or that love from them as well as the whole trans community.
Justina, same question for you. Like, I know, well, you kind of answered it earlier, actually. You said prior to Cam, you had only previously encountered one other trans guy, and it was through a website, right?
Yeah. I think I met him on Facebook.
Okay.
I think that I met him on Facebook somehow, because that was really the only thing that I was on was Facebook. So I think I met him on Facebook somehow, and he just happened to live like real close to me. But I never actually met him in person.
Okay. Now, you're from Missouri, so since we're on this subject, I want to talk a little bit about that. Because I wholeheartedly believe that location and upbringing and environment and surrounding has a lot to do.
I'm from Missouri as well. Shout out.
Are you?
Kansas City, Missouri.
I'm from St. Louis.
Being from the town, I know you tell some of the stories all the time, Justina, about where you're from, and you said that, like, you know, there in your little small town, everything is like if someone is not passable 100%, and they are wearing anything that's feminine, that's just a transvestite, right? Or
it's a transvestite or a cross-dresser.
Right. And so I know you told me not too long ago that you got a phone call or you were having a conversation with somebody and you were surprised at how much that's beginning to change in that area, right?
Yeah, my best friend is the one that she still lives in Springfield, Missouri. And she said now you're getting to the point that you see more gay people than you see straight people around. And like that's really cool because like back in the day, the only thing it was okay to be was a lesbian. Like, you know, everybody loves lesbians, but if you were a gay guy or anything like that, I didn't even know that there was a trans community in Missouri until I moved down here. Once I moved down here, that's when I started learning that there's like a huge trans community in St. Louis, Missouri.
Okay. So, and I remember you told me too, like when you moved here because of the experience. Actually, Justina, I really think that the experience that you had is kind of important in this conversation with the first trans woman that you ever met. So why don't you share that story with us if you're comfortable enough to do so?
Yeah, sure. I lived in New York and we used to go to, there's this club in Boston called Friends, and it's a gay club, and it was like 3 stories. And so like I'm downstairs and I was a real bad drug addict at that time. So I was all cracked out, drinking, having a good time playing pool. And like there was this woman, she was freaking gorgeous, like gorgeous. And all night long, she was just getting me drinks. She was all over me by the pool table and, you know, all kinds of stuff. And then so we get to the end of the night and it's like she wants me to go back to her hotel room. So I go back to her hotel room with her. Never at any point has she said anything. And then all of a sudden she whips out something the size of a baby's arm. And I was like, what the frick is that? Like I freaked out. And it was like, I was more mad at her for her. Huh?
I was saying you can say fuck. This is the trans history video. It's okay.
Yeah, like I was more mad at her for her because like I lived in Brooklyn, you know what I'm saying? So I knew about trans women, like, but I still didn't even know enough at that point to know that they were trans women. I just knew that they were cross-dressers or they were transvestites. You know, that's all I really knew at that point. But I knew that people were constantly dying for doing stuff like that, you know? And so for me, it was traumatizing as hell because in my mind, it put such a bad taste in my mouth for trans women. Like, I had no respect for trans women at all. So that was my very first experience ever meeting a trans woman. And actually, in all honesty, come to find out, like one of my dad's closest friends when I was a kid was actually a transgendered woman. And all of my life until I came here, he was just always a cross dresser. He was always Georgette, the guy who liked to wear fake titties and a skirt. You know what I'm saying? But like since I've been here, I completely understand now that like he was a trans woman. And so it's just like it's amazing to know that I grew up with somebody like that and nobody paid him any mind ever. Ever. And he was not passable at all.
So are you? So, and I know this. You've always done it. So Georgette, you call her he because that's what you grew up with, right? But she's she now.
Right. Yes, I'm sorry. She is she now. Just all my life, I knew her as George. So, like, even all the way up until I left my parents' house and everything, like, she was still George. Just George liked to wear skirts and he would wear fake boobs and stuff like that. So, but he was always him to us. You know what I'm saying? Like, he never was like, I'm a woman or, you know, like, I want to be called she or anything like that. He just liked to dress up like that and he liked to wear high heels. It was his favorite thing in the world was wearing high heels. So it's hard for me to say her when I speak about Georgette because all of my life Georgette was George in a dress.
Cause she had to be.
Right. Right. I completely understand that now. Just at that time, I was a very young kid whenever my dad first met George. You know, so I grew up with George. You know, so it was completely normal to me. But what was normal to me was knowing that George was a cross-dresser. I knew George wasn't a transvestite because I knew George only had a penis. And see, that's the thing. In Missouri, a transvestite is somebody who has like both male and female parts. And a cross-dresser is a guy who likes to wear women's clothes.
Okay. So I yeah. I mean, because I kind of was raised underneath the same kind of umbrella of information, which was not much of none. So, like, I totally understand the terminologies were pretty ancient, but still, nonetheless, I mean, yeah, she had to, and that was hard, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, she had to. That was hard because even you couldn't call her Georgette when she had to play George.
Right. And like looking back on it now, I often like I feel so bad in my spirit, you know, like when it comes that because it's like knowing now, like the things that I know now, the struggles that I know now that trans women go through and you know, like especially trans women that don't pass, you know, like to know everything that I know now and to know the life that Georgette lived it's just like, man, like I have so much respect for her. You know what I'm saying? And like so much and now like she to me. You know, like George is always gonna be George, but Georgette is what George became. And that's amazing to me now. And it breaks my heart to know that she was never comfortable enough to be able to just be.
Right.
Yeah, because
you know what I mean?
she didn't want to let down all the people that was holding on to the memory of George.
Right. And I mean, you know, in the small town
has to listen to that.
Right. And I mean, like my parents live in a small town, you know, and so that's where Georgette lived, was in a small town called Troy, Missouri. And so there it's not okay at all. You know what I'm saying? So if George would have it was one thing for George to be a guy who liked to wear dresses. It would have been another thing entirely for George to say, "Hi everybody, I'm a woman." That would have been another thing entirely. You know what I'm saying? So it's just so sad to me now, knowing what I know, to know that that's the reason George stayed George.
Yeah, and some of us get to New York City.
Hey, Talia, Aiden, we sent him a request. So, if you check with him,
I just told him to check.
Okay, thank you. So Daniel, you're so patient, and I'm coming to you. I am. But Kirk, I want to start this question off on you. Okay. So now, Talia made a point earlier, and it's so true. And when we had the conversation a couple of weeks ago, when we were talking to the panel of awesome trans men that we had on here, we began to touch a little bit on fetishizing of trans men and how much that has become a thing. And like Talia said, it's not just, it's everybody. Gay men, gay women, lesbians, everyone. So let's talk a little bit about that. Do you feel, honestly, remember we're talking honestly here, nobody's here to judge anybody on anything. Do you honestly feel like a part of your attraction started with or still is in some arena of a fetish?
I wouldn't say it still is. I would say like when it first happened, yeah, I had the mindset of, hey, I can get the best of both worlds while I'm looking at a man but penetrating a woman. Well, like looking at a man but penetrating the vagina. And so it was like the best of both worlds at that time. And it was like, that's what, it felt good to me at that moment, but then after I continued to talk to the guy and date the guy, I got to know him better. So then I was able to grab that emotional connection rather than just the physical attraction.
Okay. Daniel, wait, hold on, Daniel. I got to go back here for a minute.
Okay.
Because the thing for me is, when we had that conversation a couple of weeks ago, you guys, please don't kill me. Don't read me in the comments. You guys on the panel, don't kill me. But I had thought at one point in time in my life, not too long ago, that it was the idea of a trans man being fetishized was being a fetish to someone was like it wasn't a thing for me. And then we had that conversation, and like I said, it was one of those eye-opening things for me where I was like, oh my God, well, why wouldn't they be able to be? Why wouldn't he be able to be a fetish? Why? And then that's it. And then I realized that's exactly what is happening. I do a lot of searching through Facebook throughout the week. I stalk everybody's everything. I read a bunch of conversations because I like to get knowledge. I like to gain knowledge. I like to see where people's minds are and stuff like that. So as I began to, after we had that conversation, as I began to shift my mind and allow my mind to open up a little bit more, I began to see this fetishizing and how it was happening more and more and more and more with trans men. And so, first of all, I want to say here that I apologize for even ever thinking that a trans man could never be a fetish. Like, I don't even know where that came from, but I want to say that I wholeheartedly know 100% now that it is definitely a thing, and it is definitely a thing that needs to stop. Because just as trans women do not like, and let me rephrase that, just as some trans women, because there are some of the thoughts that love y'all up in their inboxes and calling them and all that mess. But for some trans people, it is not something that we don't invite that. It's not something that we're asking for. And so I do apologize, and I wanted to just put that out there because I really have been ignorant to so many things. And if you guys know me, one thing you know about me is that I'm a very honest person, and I love to, if there's something that's not right or there's something that's on my heart, I got to share it with you. Whether it offends someone or it makes someone upset with me or not, it has to be said. So with that being said, I want to come to you now, Daniel, because you are the only single trans-attracted male on here on the show today that is attracted to trans women. I want to talk to you, since we're talking about fetishes, I want to ask you, first of all, the same question I asked Kirk, and that would be, would you say that your attraction initially started, or maybe even is, because of fetish?
Well, I'm not gonna lie. When I first became active in the community, um, at first I just thought it was, I just thought it was my thing, like my kink. You know, I would say kinda yeah, but as I grew in the community, it became less a fetish and more like, okay, this is what it is. This is what it's going to be, and this is what I'm into. This is what I like.
Okay, okay. So then what made it? If anything specifically, what made it change?
What made it change? It was that I started, I really just started sitting down and trying to get to know a lot of the women that I was attracted to. I started asking them, questions, and I realized like they were like genuinely just women. Like, I mean, the kind of women that I wouldn't mind taking home to my mother, that I wouldn't mind introducing to my sister, these are that I wouldn't mind taking around my friends. These are like really cool women. Like, it's like, I'm just like, okay, like this is what it is. And it wasn't until my first relationship that I really just started really just seriously wanting to pursue it and saying, yes, this is who I am, this is me. Me, because when I first became active in this community, I didn't even have a name for what I felt.
You didn't even have what?
I didn't even.
What was the last part there? You didn't even have.
I didn't even have a name for what I was feeling towards trans women. Like, the term trans attracted really didn't come into the lexicon until much later. Like, trans attracted, I had never heard of that term before.
Okay.
And we're talking about the early aughts.
Yeah. Do you wait? I'm going to ask you another question in a minute. I want to go to some comments really quick. Acknowledge some people. So first of all, Black trans men. Hey, thank you guys so much for watching. They said great conversation, family. I'm glad that we're having this conversation. Stevie Hunter. Hey, thank you for tuning in all the way from Scotland. We appreciate you being here. Whoever this now. So I'm going to stop you right now. What you won't do is you won't come on this live chat and slander anybody for anything that is happening in this chat. So if you don't want to be here, you don't have to be here. You can take your ass back to whatever cornfield you came out of. But if you want to be here, then I suggest you shut up, because the next move is to block your ass and get you kicked off of YouTube, okay? Stevie, we're doing all right. Thank you so much. We were so fortunate enough to have Aiden be able to join us. So Aiden, thank you so much for joining us. How you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
Okay. Aiden, tell us a little bit about yourself. Talia said that you're a good friend of hers. It's a pleasure to meet you, but tell us a little about yourself.
I mean, to put it simply, I'm a Black queer trans man. I live in my truth, and I'm unapologetic about everything that I do. I'm considered more of, I guess the gay community would say I'm more of a butch queen, but I hold very dearly like my trans experience, and I like respect it. And again, I love trans women. I do nothing but like uplift and like empower and support and protect trans women. I have only dated successfully one trans woman, and it was a great experience. So I don't know. I guess that's really it.
Okay. Well, we're absolutely glad to have you join us. Perk is going crazy over here. so we're absolutely.
Oh, I had him on Facebook and messaged him already.
I saw that and I was like, oh, okay. I was like, oh, that's the tea. Okay.
Well, we're so glad that you're here with us today, Aiden. I want to read something that's really great from the comments. DC said, and I want to get Crystal and Talia on this one. So, Crystal, we'll start with you. But Cece said, actually, let's get you on this one first. And if this is offensive to anyone, if any of these questions are offensive, please make that verbal for us so that we know. But she says that she does not mean to be offensive at all. She says, I'm so confused and I'm not trying to be rude, but somebody commented, sorry. Not trying to be rude, but I always thought in my mind that most trans men don't get penetrated. This is the first that I'm hearing about it. I have to tell you guys too, like I was saying, I also had for the longest time had that thought. And I guess that's, again, for me, I can admit that it was because I was putting gender and genitalia and in the same box together. But Aiden, let's start with you on that. Do you have anything that you want to say on that?
I want to first start by saying that I don't think the question or the inquiry is offensive. It's one of those things where I've opened myself up to have this conversation, so I'm comfortable with it. I wouldn't ask that in public, but that's another thing. Me personally, like, I lived as female for 19 years. And I was comfortable at that time with being penetrated, as far as like, a finger or a dildo, whatever the fuck, because that's what gives me pleasure. When I transitioned, that didn't change. It was one of those things where, for me personally, being penetrated affirmed my masculinity. It made me feel like, damn, nigga, you taking it like that. Like, it made me feel like that nigga. So it's never been a problem for me to be penetrated. Now, like, sometimes with cis men, I get like real irritated because I'm just like, y'all really not here for me. But like, typically, I don't really mind it. Like, I know that there's a common misconception where people say, oh, well, if you're going to transition, you don't want anything to do with the original parts or your original plumbing that you have. And for me, that's not the truth that I live in. I'm very comfortable with the original plumbing that I have. I use it. And that's something that I have to do that for myself, because it's like, I'm not about to, rip myself from pleasure or from experiencing anything that this life has to offer because of what society tells me I shouldn't do.
Yes.
Me personally, me being penetrated, me being fucked, me being pleased does not make me less male. It makes me more male. It makes me feel more like, okay, damn, like, do that shit then. I don't feel I'm dead ass. Like, I literally be geeking myself up like, okay, bitch, okay, little mama, you taking it like that then. But it's like, for me personally, like, I'm not gonna let anything control what fucks, feeds, or finances me. It's not gonna happen. It's not gonna happen. But I understand why the general society, the cishet normality society, would think trans men don't want to be penetrated. Now, I say that lightly because there are some trans men that do not want to be penetrated. So you can't go up to every trans man like, let me fuck you, because they're gonna shut it the fuck down because they don't know you. But for me personally, it makes me feel more male. It makes me feel more comfortable. It affirms me for me to be like, yeah, but that's for me because I'm unapologetically trans. Everybody knows that I'm trans. I live in that truth. I fight for this community. And I live to like make sure people know, like, okay, no, I'm not some super masculine, don't penetrate me, macho man. I got a beard and muscles, but like, Child, that shit played out. I'm not cis, and I'm not gonna try to be cis.
Right. I respect you 100%. I am with you on so many, and not take, of course, not that I ever could take away anything from anyone else who may not feel that way. But as for me in my house, I completely feel the exact same way that you feel like, and that's kind of what I was hinting on when I was talking about the trans pride thing earlier. But again, that's not to take away from anyone who may not feel that way. Talia, I want you to comment on this as well.
Okay, so I think what that question really deals with is the basic thinkings of societal norms. And it's society tells us that masculine men, or that men period, have to be masculine. They have to be the ones dominating. They have to be this, they have to be that, but no one can actually really define what masculinity is. A person defines what their masculinity is. Just like I can define what my femininity is. Just like, Aiden has no problems using his plumbing. Talia ain't got no problems using her plumbing either.
Amen.
So, I mean, what society thinks I should be doing, that's a motherfucking no-no. Right. So, it kind of just goes back to just letting people be who they are, and understanding that your views of things is not always going to be everyone's views of things. And we need to understand how problematic societal norms are. Now, if you're a binary person, perfectly fine, but be open-minded enough to understand other things. We're a community that is so mixed up. Then it's like, really, how do we put a standard on that when our community has so much to offer? So yeah, I mean, you like it, I love it.
Absolutely. Crystal, I definitely want to come to you because I know that you, like, against all of us and what we've been saying here, I know that you have a completely different outlook on this. And I definitely want to know what you and your husband have to say in regards to this.
Well, I'm all for the trans pride and you saying taking ownership and pride within our experiences and things of that sort. But I feel like the woman that I felt I was, since I can identify my gender, is the woman that I grew to become when I, had affirmation surgeries. But nonetheless, I do know that people have their own sense of what they feel needs to, what risk they're willing to take to align themselves with, what they feel on the from the inside. I don't think that makes you less than or more than, because that's everybody's personal choice when it comes down to it. But yeah, I mean, you like it, I love it. Like, I don't. I mean, I never was put in that situation, so it's like, I know that there are cis males that like women to put on strap-ons, so I'm not surprised that there's women, or there's trans men that don't mind being penetrated, like males who like being penetrated. That's just not talked about much because of social sexual practices publicly seen on HBO and stuff. So, if we see more girls being strapped ons or on Love and Hip Hop, maybe people would be okay with it.
Right. Especially our people, because we all know that we're behind.
Right.
We're behind at the time.
The whites are already doing it.
Right. Right. And now listen, now I know some freaky ass black chicks too that's already doing it.
Well,
a little bit. Jeremy, I want to ask you, and like, I know when I spoke with Crystal, and I probably should have asked you guys this before, but are you pretty open to speaking openly?
Of course.
Okay.
I've just never been asked the question.
Well, that's why I'm here to you now. I just wasn't sure. But now that I know that, I have some questions for you. So first of all, when we had Crystal on before, she explained to us and she told us, and what I thought was absolutely beautiful is that you met Crystal pre her affirmation surgeries. So when you met Crystal, she was for those who are here learning today, that means that
for those who are here learning, when you meet somebody, you're an adult, hopefully, right? And you're hoping that other person is an adult, right? Otherwise, you leave the situation, or it shouldn't have been to begin with, right? So a lot of the smaller details, as not to cause any confusion, that didn't really play. That was mostly body. You know, it was there. And I was gonna get some sensations, like I've been getting sensations from my part, entering someone else's part. You know, sensory nerves and stuff like that. You know, so I'm mostly on that side of it. You know, so I only, it's tickling me a little bit, but I'm really trying to fix myself up here. I don't get asked this question much.
Right.
So I'm, you know, I'm sort of in this life here, you know, and this life is very real. And that's all I can pretty much say about that. You know, I do a lot of me time, you know what I mean? So because of that, you know, I had a lot of time on my hands to put my thoughts together on this. So that's pretty much where I'm going to end it.
Okay, absolutely. And I definitely need that answer. What I'm seeing, or what I'm experiencing, or what I'm understanding is that it seems to be the common ground amongst all of the trans attracted men here that are here verbally speaking out, is that it's not the trans that you're attracted to, but it's the person that you're attracted to. And that's why I really wanted to have this show, is because I think that so many people who choose not to educate themselves are okay sitting back thinking that the idea is you like this person because they got a dick, you like this person because they've got a pussy, you like this person because they got titties, you like this person because of blah, 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 and that must make you this label, this label, this label, and this label. But the reality is, it has never been, and it is definitely...
The reality of the situation is, not to cut you off, but is to have more of this conversation on a mature level.
Absolutely.
Because, you know, then we can really relate to each other better.
Absolutely.
You know, because when all the labels, classifications, and everything like that sort of thrown at you, sometimes you at the right or the wrong, or if no one's prepared to bounce off of that because they just don't have the education for it, or not even, everything could just go wrong.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Because a lot of people are sensible and sensitive, you know? We live in
a very sensitive time.
Right.
And everybody's hypersensitive about everything and so offended about everything. And that's the reason why people can't just live their fucking lives. Is because everybody's worried about what everybody else is doing. And everybody's worried about, you know, who's doing who with what and when and where. Instead of, and that's the reason why I think personally, and you guys may think I'm crazy, but I honestly think that there are probably, on a daily basis, I probably encounter 20 to 30 guys who are want to be as open-minded as the people here on the show today, but because of societal norms are like, you know, I'm going to stay reserved. Mm-hmm. And since we're talking about that, I want to, and this is going to be something I want to talk with everybody about. Since we're speaking about this, one of the biggest misconceptions when we have transgendered women particularly transgender women of color that are found murdered or, killed, one of the things that we see the most, and I'm going to start with the guys on this one first. I'm starting with you, Jeremy. But one of the things that we see the most is this this narrative that, oh, she must have been tricking, fooling, she must have been trying to deceive this person, and this person snapped. Or that's the defense that we hear from these individuals in the very minute opportunities or times that they get caught. Then those are the things that we hear from them as an excuse. As a matter of fact, there's even a law that they can ride underneath. There is a law in our country that they can
29 states
that they can ride underneath that says because they were freaked out when they found out this gay person or this trans person or this whatever was who they were, and they hit on them. What is the law's name?
The panic law, the gay panic law, the gay trans panic law.
How fucking is that?
That's legislation in 49 states.
Are you serious? I've never heard that before.
In 49 states.
Wow.
It's actually 48.
Oh, 48? I'm sorry.
In 48 states, you could kill someone, go to court, and probably walk out using a defense that you panicked because you found out who they were.
Wow.
Crazy. Mind-blowing.
But TMZ, when they report these people saying this stuff, they won't let you know why it's beneficial for them to say that or to cop that plea all the time.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, Jeremy, my question for you would be, because this is the narrative that we hear so often, as someone who met your wife prior to her confirmation, her affirmation, I'm sorry, and like, as someone like that, how likely do you think that it is that this is a true statement that is being made when this narrative is being spoken? Does that make sense?
No.
Okay. So what I mean is, like, as someone who is, for the sake of this show, as someone who is trans attracted, for the sake of this show, and you met your wife prior to her affirmation surgery, which means you knew prior to that she had whatever plumbing was there, even though it wasn't usable, it wasn't something you were interested in, you knew it was there. So being that person, how likely is it that you can, or how can you understand when someone says, oh, I freaked out and that's why I murdered this girl?
No. I understand what you're saying now, being in my mind, the state of mind that I'm in, and then coming to find out someone in that state of mind. No, I disagree completely. Okay. I think that person needs to actually check into a psychiatric center or something, have his brain checked out.
Facts.
You know, I don't share the same state of mind a lot of people have today, because that's only because I have to have a mind that's not just a mind that's going to get me through every day. I got to have a mind that's extraordinary. You know, so sometimes I may not have, when someone says something, did it freeze or something?
No.
Okay, when someone says something, and I still may be processing a lot of the information or whatever, or I haven't really, or I'm trying to give it time.
You guys
so I can really, right, so I can really get my thoughts together, so I can really approach it the way I like to. Not for me, but for everybody else too, so it can come across the way I need it to.
Okay.
But yeah, but I disagree with that. Yeah, I disagree. Big time.
Okay, absolutely. And I want to ask Aiden the same exact question. Aiden, as a black male who is attracted to trans women, do you see that? Tell me about that narrative and how you receive that narrative.
So, it's extremely loaded. So the way that I look at this is the trans women that I know, there's no way possible that in this day and age, in the day and age before, trans women are not tricking these people. It's not a thing. That's not happening. Can y'all see me still?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Okay, because the connection was fucking up.
It's on my end, guys. I'm sorry about that.
No, it's fine. So trans women are not tricking anyone. Trans women, in my opinion, the ones that I've met, the ones that I've worked with, the ones that I know, are very open and honest about that, about their narrative. Like, especially with like the rate of like trans women dying. Like, trans women are only expected to live at the age of 35, and that's it. So there's no way that like people that like trans women are walking around here tricking the trade. It's not a thing. That's not fucking happening. But society told everybody, trans, gay, whatever the fuck, told everybody that, oh well, you don't want your homeboys to find out that you fucking with a trans person. That means you gay. So then therefore, because they homeboys are triggered by what the fuck they doing, they like, oh, well, let me go ahead and take care of this situation. Trans women are not out here doing that shit. And neither are trans men. That's not a fucking thing. That is not a thing. And for anybody to use that as a excuse, they're fucking sick. That's not a thing. It's not possible. Like, even if that was the thing, even if trans women were tricking the trade or tricking cis men or whatever, to kill somebody is the fucking reach. That's a reach. Like that's a whole ass reach. And the fact that this country in 48 states have said that is okay shows this country is not for people like us.
Absolutely. Daniel, same question for you. How do you receive that narrative when that's the excuse, or that's what we hear all the time as our trans sisters are being murdered off like left and right?
Well, I think I've been pretty vocal about this particular subject in most groups and even on my own page, even on my own Facebook page. Like I said, I made a post where I said something to the effect of, it's not trans women who are lying about who they are. It's your uncles, brothers, cousins, nephews, and best friends who are lying about what they love.
Absolutely.
As Aiden said, it is not trans women or trans men who are fooling anybody. It is a lot of people trying to cover their tracks.
Say that.
This is why I am not a fan of the DL culture. This is why I'm not a fan of the DL culture. In fact, I've been very vocal speaking out against brothers who like to do their dirt and then keep it on the low.
Absolutely. And babe, what would you say on that as far as the question?
Yeah, I would definitely say that if someone's using I panicked as an excuse, I personally think that they would just set out to just kill that person in the first place.
So you think it's a cowarding excuse?
Absolutely. That
it's basically an excuse to get away with premeditated murder.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Absolutely. Talia, I want to get to you on the same exact question, but first I want to read this message. So Malaysia, hey Malaysia, thank you so much for watching. Malaysia Walker says, everyone has their own personal experience. It's no different for people of the trans experience. It's nobody's business what's going on behind a person's closed doors unless they are joining in on the fun. Amen. She also continues to say, what's the difference now that they have a dang panic law? People have been getting off with killing us with no repercussions forever. Forever. This is, and that's, well, hold on one second. The panic law, in my opinion, is something they can put on paper. Absolutely, 100%. I agree with that. And I want to say this. Just like right now, we know that racism, if you're Black in America today, and you are a woke Black person in America today, any type of woke, then you know that the racism that is rearing its ugly head today is not something that is new or just getting here, but is something that's already been here. It's just being, it's the environment, right, it's been dormant all this time, and it's the environment that has produced these people's opportunity for them to display their hate. It's the man that we've got in that White House that they call the president. It's those type of people, and they're allowing this narrative to be okay. It's the same exact thing with transgender individuals being murdered at an alarming rate. That has been happening forever. We are now starting. I read a pastor, a really good friend of mine, a really nice pastor that I know named Vincent, posted at one point in time. He said that nothing's changed except for things are being recorded now. This isn't new. It's just that people are speaking out about them, the things happening. So these trans murders and these guys getting away with killing trans individuals and using this panic law and these ignorant ass excuses, this is not something new. This has been around for a while. Tilly, I want to get to you, and then Justine, I'm going to ask you the same exact question.
Okay. I'm just sitting here just trying to take in everything everyone has been saying, and I'm a type of person I like to rebuttal. That's my thing.
Okay.
And I try to flip everyone's opinions around to try to dig up something different. And I'm trying to also put myself in the position of the person who's using the panic defense. And I think about a situation where I've actually had this overall urge of hormones. And the first person that seemed like, oh, they're going to be a little easy. Let me go creep over their inbox, meet up with them, have sex with them. Sex was wonderful. And then instantly you're like, oh, why did I do this shit? We've all been there. But when it comes to these men that are trans attracted with a trans woman, that feeling is elevated times 10 only because of society. And it's not always the outside society. Sometimes it's us too. I just recently shared a picture on my Facebook page where this community, the LGBTQIA PDK2 community, is sitting here dragging a cis hetero man because he had red fingernails, he had some rainbow pants on, he had his hair dyed blonde, his name was A1, and he's sitting next to his wife who appreciates him and loves him just the way he is. We're bashing him and calling him less than a man. We need to break the societal norms that is making people want to even try to use that panic defense.
So, Leah, I don't know. I'm not exactly. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I'm not sure what happened. You were breaking up there at the last part of what you said. Can you repeat it for us again?
Oh Lord, which part is?
Just A1, the gentleman A1.
Okay, yeah. You know, the community was basically bashing him on his masculinity, saying that he's a little, he must be a little girl, or he must be in his starting phases of transitioning. And it's like, how can we expect for men to feel comfortable being who they are when even our own community wants to bash them as soon as they're not following a societal norm? I think that contributes to this snap effect. But also at the same time, like I said, this topic is extremely complex. There's many different ways to look at it. You also have to look at it as the guys who really just saw us as fetishes, and they just wanted to get their rocks off, and then that was it. But at the same time, they're so afraid that somebody else is going to find out about it that they end up murdering one of us because they know that, for one, the media is not going to represent us properly. The government is not going to pursue our justice. And quiet as kept, this community is going to forget about your death the next week.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's so sad. And actually, you touched on something that I want to talk about in just a moment, but I want to get to Justina, and I want to ask Justina your intake on this.
Well, for me, I think, I don't know, I kind of look at it the same way Talia does, because of where I come from. I guess I can kind of see how I grew up around men who were like manly men. You know what I'm saying? So like their pride in being a man, their pride in having a dick, their pride in being able to fuck, their pride in all of those things were paramount. And so to take anything away from that was a very huge deal. So I guess I can see where somebody came up with that bullshit, saying that like, oh, well, I just panicked and freaked out, and so I just took it upon myself to end somebody's motherfucking life. Like, bullshit. Bullshit. Like, there's no way that I'm going to believe that. I don't care where you come from. I don't care who you are. It doesn't make any sense for you to think for any reason that it's your right to end someone's life. Freak out, have a freak out moment, yeah. Get the hell out of there, yeah. Be like, what the fuck, yeah. Because I had that what the fuck moment. But never would I ever think that it's my right to end someone's life over a moment.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, since we're talking about this, and I'm bringing it to you, Crystal, on this one. So we hear often about, Talia was just kind of touching on it. Our community, God help us, our community. When I say that, I include all of the acronyms, all of the letters in that, everybody underneath the umbrella of the gay community. It's often that we encounter gay men, and in my experience, it's particularly been Black gay men who have absolutely no problem with outing us in a situation. I just spoke with someone. As a matter of fact, I had a young lady message me about a week ago at like 1:30 in the morning. She was freaking out because she had gone out with someone who she thought was a friend of hers. It was a gay guy. They had gone to someone else's house to pick that person up, and that person lived in a really seedy neighborhood. And so when they went to go pick her up, they got out the car, and the guys that were hanging out in the corner of the dope boys started hollering at this girl, and there was, hey, little mama, you look good, whatever. The gay guy that she was with, who is her friend, the gay guy who she's with was like, well, you shouldn't holler too loud because she's got a dick. That's a boy. And this girl was freaking out because she literally felt like in that moment, he didn't give a shit about my life. These people could have killed me. They literally could have murdered me in that moment. And this bitch wouldn't have even given a fuck. And this is an experience of a lot of trans individuals with the gay community. So I
know why they do that.
Huh?
I said I already know why they do that.
I'm gonna get to you in 1 second. I wanna start with you, Crystal. Crystal, what is your input on this on that subject? Being out by our community.
I mean, oppressed people. It's like it's something that's embedded within their culture. It's something that they're just reenacting what they've experienced majority of the time. I don't condone it, but it does take place a lot. And I feel like anybody who calls you brother or sister shouldn't be that ignorant to the dangers that you face when they do something that's stupid in public. I mean, like, honestly, if you do that around me and we're moving in public, I'm not going to invite you anywhere else.
Absolutely.
Like, that's when it comes to a scenario like that, like, yeah, that's very problematic and dangerous. And I mean, I've heard of people who say that, but I just don't find myself having that, entertaining that type of crowd. Like, who does? Yeah, that's, yeah.
Excuse me. Yeah, excuse me. I'm sorry, not to cut nobody off, but yeah, just to piggyback off of what you were saying. A lot of times it is gay guys, but also a lot of times when it comes to transgender women, it be a lot of cisgender females that the trans women hang with.
And I was going to speak along those matters. That would address the whole panic thing. I think that would help with the stigmas. We need our mothers and our sisters and our cousins out there that claim that they're allies to speak up more on our behalf, so that these males who feel like they're trapped in against the wall won't feel like their only escape is this whole I'm panicked or I don't want to be outed, so they react in this manner, making an excuse saying that you're less of a man because you happen to have been attracted to someone who's been through a transition in their life doesn't make you less of a man.
Right.
Or it doesn't make you less of a woman if it happens to be a trans man. Like, that's, I mean, I think when they start hearing that the same way that it's okay for people to be lesbian, then and only then will we see people not use that as a scapegoat.
Absolutely.
And that whole, yeah.
For sure. And make conversations like this begin to propel that even more and more and more and more. Kurt, as a gay male, same question for you. Like, now, first of all, I know you very well. You know, you're my nephew, my baby. We work together on many projects. And so I know we've never been out ever one time. We've been out places where people have hollered and talked and hooted, and never once have you had ever a thought of saying, oh, well, y'all know, blah, 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 blah.
I mean, no. Of course not. To me, that plain and simple is disrespectful. I mean, you are my auntie. I have plenty of trans friends, trans sisters. And even at times when I go out with like you or I go with Naomi, and like at times I have to reaffirm you all, like, hey, you're fine. You're good. You look good. You're a woman. Just be you. You know, but because like I said, plain and simple is just disrespectful. And when you out someone, basically is what it is. That's just like saying if a straight man outed a gay man or a straight woman outed a gay man. Like, y'all can't hang around him because he sucked dick or whatever the case may be. That's just you putting other people's business out there that has nothing to do with you.
And you're putting people's lives in danger. That girl had a very valid point that night. That literally in that moment, because we hear the stories all the time about people walking to their car and somebody. We saw a video. There was a video not too long ago of a young lady that was in the side of a store minding her own fucking business, and for whatever reason she felt the need to disclose, and the gentleman went out to his car, brought a gun back into the store, and still shot at her. I want to talk. Aiden, you had something to say, and then Talia, I want to get your input on this. So let's go with you first, Aiden.
In my experience, when people like just are compelled to just out somebody, it's usually 9 times out of 10 because they're fucking jealous that somebody hollered at that other person rather than them. Like, if I'm out with another butch queen, because child, they be the ones. If I'm out there with another butch queen and we chilling and a nigga try to talk to me, they're gonna be like, well, you know that's a tranny, right? Oh, so you're mad.
Right.
So you're mad because they want to fuck me and not you. And then it's just like they in that moment they could care less because their attention is not on them. They don't have the attention that they want. They not getting what they just jealous at that point because they like, especially like me personally, I would never be in a situation with another trans person and out them, but that's because I live this life too. But I have heard of like my trans sisters being in situations where gay men just out them for no reason because they're like, oh well, damn, you just go ahead and fuck it up like that, huh? It's just like, oh, so you're mad because you're not getting the dick that you want, but I could possibly get it.
Right. That's what it is. They're jealous, and what mad is that it is really not none of their concern. They jealous, like you said, Aiden, and they want the piece of trade or whatever to fuck with them.
And that'd be the main reason. As soon as you said that, I was like, that's exactly why it happens. There's no other reason. It's literally like, oh, who look more fish or who this and who that, who this. It's like if people want to talk to whoever the fuck they want to talk to. If somebody want to come up to me and talk to me and not talk to my homie, then don't talk to my homie. Don't out me. Because you just put me in a situation not even thinking that, oh, I could get killed. And in that moment, that no matter how much a person that I may know or somebody that you may be around is an ally, in that moment, they are no longer an ally because they're thinking about, well, damn, why am I not getting the attention from the trade?
And I want to say this, and this trigger warning, but I have to say this, and I say this on both apps. So I feel that everybody always has the right to make their own decisions. Everyone should have the right to make their own decisions. I feel like just as a trans woman should have the right, and does have the right, to disclose how she wants, when she wants, where she wants. And I also feel that a man has the right to be told the truth in a situation so that he also is able to make the decision. So I think that on both sides of the fence there, that is something that's extremely, extremely important. Talia, I would love for you to weigh in here.
Okay, so I think that's the problem when you come last, honey. It was so much explaining of different point of views. I don't get lost in what the original question was.
we're talking about oh shit, Audi then. Yeah. the trans. Yeah. being outed at as a trans person by our gay friends and family and counterparts.
I swear every question is extremely complex because it could be jealousy. It could be ignorance. And it could also be willful ignorance. And then it also could be the fact that many of us are just products of our environment. I remember, I'm not going to say which pageantry system it was, but I was hanging around an owner of a pageant system. And we were in a hotel. It was myself, my trans mother, Tanisha Cass, and I. And all these men were walking by. And if y'all ever got a chance to see Tanisha Cass and I, she used to always, and her fish attire used to always be a tank top that was bust down the middle so her cleavage could be all popped out. And the guys would just be giving her the googly eyes. And out of nowhere, this pageant promoter was like, you know that I was a man, right? Oh. And, and it's like you just suck the whole air out of the hallway in this hotel. Like, bitch, did she really just say that? And she laughed. But, because of her environment, they all considered trans women to be men. So it was no tea, no shade to call you that. So it's, when we meet people are in those places where they are products of their environment and just do not have the education, we as trans women need to educate them. And like I said, there's also people who are just ignorant to the fact. They just don't care to look up the information to know that they are actually saying something problematic. And then there's the ones who think that that type of stuff is cute, which is the willful ignorance. They know it's problematic, but they don't care about anybody. And most likely it's not even probably jealousy. It's probably the fact that they're not comfortable with their own life, that they have to go out and get that frustration and the hate towards themselves and put it on somebody else. So like I say, it's really complex. There's many different ways to look at it.
Yeah, and also like it's just like I mean, like I said before, it's not just the gay guys, but also the cisgender women because like it's that a lot of them are jealous of the girls also.
Absolutely. And something that I've had a lot of, and some intentionally and some unintentionally, but I've had a lot of my cisgender female friends who say insensitive things, whether they know that they're insensitive or not, or is a different story. Like I really hate when a cisgender woman's like, well, yeah, being a real woman, or being something that really, really gets under my skin is like when someone says something like, oh yeah, well, as a woman who was born a woman, like, because it's like, first of all, I don't need to be reminded that you were born who you are, and I know exactly who I am as well. But those type of things can be very insensitive. And they also can lead to knowingly or not knowingly outing someone in a public environment or in a public situation. And I think also that a lot of cisgender women automatically think that because they know that everyone knows. And so they automatically just kind of allow that attitude to flow. Oh, well, I know, so everybody must know. So it's okay for me to say this, or it's okay for me to act this way. Justine, I want to chime in with you on this one, and then I have one more question, guys, and then I'm gonna let you guys go because you guys have been great. We've been here for a while, and this has been a good conversation. And I'm definitely gonna have to do a part 2 of this because there's so much more that we didn't even cover yet. But I want, Justine, I want to ask you about that situation. Cisgender women and gay individuals or gay men, lesbians, whatever, that choose to or that knowingly or unknowingly out trans people. What's your input on that?
I think that I agree with Aiden a lot. It comes down a lot to jealousy, especially when it comes to gay guys. I feel that a lot of times gay guys are always looking at it like competition when they're around trans women. It's always a competition because you've gone one step further than they choose to go. So they're going to try to out you at every step because it's a way to bring you back down. The thing that always kills me is when you have people that you've been friends with for years and years and years, and then all of a sudden y'all fall out, and the first thing they do is call you out your gender. Like that's the thing that always kills me. Like we've been friends 20 years, and all of a sudden, oh, you a dude? Like, that's the thing that kills me. Like what does that say about the last 20 years of our friendship? Because to me, it says that didn't mean shit to you, and it tells me that you didn't never see me as a woman in the first damn place.
Absolutely.
So it's completely fucking shady. All that shit is just completely ass shady. Especially when it comes to being out in the streets and things like that, because you are seriously putting these people's lives in danger. You have no idea what the fuck is going to happen in the next moments after you say, that's a dude, right? You could just end that person's life. It's just absolute ignorance.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I have a quick question. What would you classify someone if they dated a trans? If would you date someone who dated a trans? Well, not you personally, but if someone who dated a trans woman or a woman who was of trans experience decided to date a cis woman, would you still consider them straight? would you still consider them straight, or would you think they're less straight?
Was that for me?
Like, period, for anybody in the panel, because I know that's sometimes, like, I know sometimes, yeah, people have different standpoints on that. Like, so
Gotcha.
that's.
I
Well,
consider them lesbians.
ask the question for me one more time.
Yeah, like if someone who identifies themselves as heterosexual, happened to date someone who was of trans experience, and then they went back on to dating cisgendered individuals, would you consider that person still straight or heterosexual, or would you classify them as an other because they were willing to date someone trans? Because some people have said that person is gay now if the trans was pre-operative. So like that's just a thought, brain thought.
I got you.
Can I run on?
Who was that? Yeah, Talia, go ahead.
Okay, so here's my thing. Let's just look at basic definitions. A gay relationship is two men. A lesbian relationship is two females. A heterosexual relationship is a female and a male. I don't care if you are a cis woman or a trans woman. You are a woman. Period. It's just that you have a different experience, which is explaining the word cis and the word trans. But both of those can still be women. So as long as that woman is dating a man, whether it's a cis man or a trans man, that is a heterosexual relationship. Like if I was to start dating a trans woman or a cis woman, I am now a trans woman that is a lesbian. If a trans man starts to date a cisgender man or another trans man, that relationship is a gay relationship. I think that the problem is that people outside of our society and some people inside of this society still do not understand the difference between gender identity and sexuality and sexual organs, period. They think that just because a trans woman may be pre-op, that because of her penis, it's not a hetero relationship because there's now labeling your penis as labeling you as a man. And we have to take what's below the waist out of the equation because that does not identify me. It does not define me. So I'm hoping that may answer your question.
You most definitely did. I just wanted that to go on record.
Aiden, I want to ask you the same thing. Anything that Crystal just asked as well.
I mean, Talia hit it right on the head. Like this whole time when that question came up, I was like, no. Like if if I'm dating a trans woman, that relationship is a heterosexual relationship. Me personally, I don't identify myself as heterosexual. I say that I'm just queer because I don't really fuck with labels. But if I'm dating a woman, either trans or cis, I am in a heterosexual relationship. If I'm dating another man, trans or cis, I am in a homosexual relationship. It doesn't fucking matter. And then like the whole concept of it is people want to label. When you actually get down to like the nitty gritty of it, people want to label what's going in what, who has what. Who the fuck cares? Like, are you the person getting fucked? Are you doing the fucking? At that point, it don't even matter. Like, Talia hit it right on the head. I was literally like, I know they about to ask me, and I'm gonna sit here and be like, refer to the last person, because
yeah,
me and Talia agree on way too much shit. I have not found a single thing that her and I disagreed on.
Can I weigh back on something else from earlier?
Absolutely.
Because we were talking about this gay community outing us and things of that nature. And I really want to start asking people, where did they learn it from?
Mm-hmm.
Because how many times have we seen situations where we'll be having a conversation on verbiage and we'll be telling people that this is how it should be said. Just like the terminology tranny, we know that that is actually a derogatory word, but yet many people in our community say it. And the first time, and as soon as you speak to somebody that is not trans about the word tranny, they say, well, my girlfriend's a trans woman and she say tranny all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But guess what? That same girlfriend is probably that one that is aesthetically beautiful. She's flawless. Miss Thing just came out of she's made by Mattel, bitch. So she walking around and everyone that she thinks is lesser than her, she be like, oh, look at that little boy. So then her little gay friends see her saying that and they think that is cute.
Yeah.
Because my girlfriend did that.
Yeah.
So then what do when they see somebody else out in society that doesn't look like they're Judy? Oh, look at that little boy. These actions are learned actions.
Absolutely. What a great point, Talia.
Excuse me.
Daniel, did you want to weigh in on this?
Yeah, I did. The kind of piggyback off of what Talia was saying, you know, when I was with my ex, you know, she'd be looking around on Facebook and she would see certain a trans woman or something. Now she's trans herself, but she would see another trans woman that may not have gotten far in their transition, and she would say things along to the effect of, excuse me, sir, and then she would show me the picture. And I would just kind of look at her like, yo, I mean, just because you got lucky and she didn't, that doesn't make her any less a woman than you. And I'm like, you know, that's really kind of negative. But you know, you calling yourself a trans advocate in the community,
right?
But but you secretly behind closed doors are saying negative things like that, and it's like I'm kind of just now looking at you some type of way now.
You know where that comes from, though, and I don't mean to like cut anybody off, but that shit comes from, and I don't even want to start a whole nother conversation. I mean, I will, I don't care, but that comes from people thinking that being trans is related to medically transitioning and not socially or mentally transitioning. I don't need to take an ounce of testosterone for me to be like, I'm a fucking man. So the fact that we have people in our community looking at other trans people like, oh, look at that little girl, look at that little boy, they just a butch queen. Child, stop carrying, because that's not what this is. You start transitioning first mentally, and then by choice or whatever the fuck you decide to do it physically. If I stop testosterone today or tomorrow, or I never started, I am still a man. That's where that shit comes from.
Absolutely. Justina, did you have anything you wanted to say on this subject?
Not really. I mean, like, I absolutely agree with everybody else what they've said. Like, I feel the exact same way. You know, like if you, it doesn't matter what genitalia you have. If I see you as my girlfriend, girl, then that means we're in a lesbian relationship. You know what I'm saying? And if I don't see you as my girlfriend, then that's a problem. You know, so I mean, I agree with what everybody else has said on that.
Absolutely. So I completely forgot that my husband was supposed to be working some overtime tonight, and he's over here like whispering to me. So I'm actually going to save the last question that I have we are going to do a part 2 of this because there is so much more conversation to be had. I definitely want to hear more from your husband, Crystal. Jeremy, I want to hear a lot more of what you have to say, because I think that there are a lot of men just like you who think just like you, who need to hear you saying exactly what it is that you have to say. So I definitely want to have this conversation some more, for sure. Aiden, I'm so glad you joined us. You have been absolutely amazing, and you have definitely brought something to this. Talia, thank you so much for making that happen and working that out. Aiden, I definitely want to have you back on the show again as well. Like I said, we are doing a part 2 of this, so keep an eye out for that. I just have to take a look at the calendar and see what we can fit everybody's schedule in. Talia, as usual, it's been a pleasure. I don't even know if you know this girl, but like you're kind of my girl crush, Talia. Like if I were to have a girl crush, you're kind of my girl crush because I love your honesty. Ever since back when you first started your campaign, you're the Say No to Silicone. I have followed you so closely. I admire everything that you do. Mostly, I admire your honesty and your willingness to just say it as it is, and how much you really are for us. Like a lot of people will speak it, a lot of people will say it, but the actions and the things that go behind it is the proof of those things. And you literally prove every day that you are truly for us as a community. So thank you so much for everything it is that you do. Daniel, I want to thank you so much for being here as well. Same thing with Talia that I said to Leah, I want to say to you as well. Like, I really appreciate your voice and how willing you are to use your voice as a gentleman who considers himself to be a cis heterosexual male who just happens to be attracted to a transgendered woman. I think that your voice is definitely something that's needed. Just like with Jeremy, like you guys are making a difference whether you realize it or not. And you guys are paving the way. You guys are pioneers in this whole thing, whether you realize that or not. And Justina, of course, you know, I love you to death. Thank you so much for being here. And thank you for your input as well, because I have experienced many, 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 many lesbian women who have said some very transphobic, very harsh things about transgendered men, trans men. And so I definitely needed to have you as someone who identifies as a lesbian, who is married to a trans man here on the show. And so your input has been extremely valuable, and we thank you so much for being here as well. And Chris, so as usual, well, you know I love you. You know that I love you to death, and you know that, like, yeah. For sure. And every time you open your mouth, I'm just like, yes, ma'am. Oh, yes, ma'am. Yes. I saw you at the ball the other day too, slaying still.
You saw me.
Come on.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And Kirk, thank you so much for being here as well. Of course, your opinion and you being a gay male and in this conversation is such a monumental thing, because it's a conversation that needs to be had. And you are a part of that LGBTQ community that we talk about when we talk about trans attraction. So thank you so much for being here. And of course, my husband, my not so co-host. He's you know, he's a little shy and he'd rather be playing his video games. So I appreciate you taking these couple of hours away from whatever it is you play. He just got a new game, y'all. So y'all know how it is. If any of y'all are gamers, y'all know what he's going through right now. So thank you so much for being here, babe, and thank you for always just being you and for loving me for who I am. And viewers, thank you guys so much for being here. Thank you for those of you guys who have been here throughout the whole show. I've noticed that there's been a steady amount of you guys that have been here. Are there any last minute comments? Just some people that are on right now. Malaysia Walker, thank you so much. Malaysia said, I wanted to say earlier, Malaysia said when we were talking about the panic law, I wonder if we as trans folks can get away with using the panic law. That's a very good question. Of course, we probably could.
Oh my God, eek, they had a penis and they were a guy. And we just killed them to death.
It unfortunately it wouldn't work. Jay, hey Jay, thank you so much for watching. Jay said that at one time she was apparently out somewhere and her sister pulled her wig off in front of a group of people, and I'm sure that upset her as well. So Malaysia, thank you so much. Malaysia was speaking about when I told the story about the trans girl who was outed by her gay friend. She said that it was never a friendship in the first place. You're absolutely right, Malaysia. And oh, Malaysia is Miss Black Trans International. Malaysia, congratulations. I would love to have you on the show and do an interview one-on-one with you one day. And I'm going to look you up and we can chit-chat and talk. Thank you so much for being involved in this conversation today. To all of you that have been watching the show, to all of you guys that are here on the panel, to everybody tonight, this was a very important conversation. I've been looking forward to this. I've had some great guests on here, and I have some great guests coming up later on. And I have some awesome things happening. But this is one of the most exciting shows that I've been looking forward to. And the reality of it is I wasn't very prepared for this show. Normally I have a script and a list of stuff that I was going to go through. But then I said earlier, just before we came on, I said, you know what? Well, I told Crystal initially that I was just going to go out and look together anyways. But I made a decision that that I was just going to let this conversation flow. And I'm glad that it did. I just wanted to open up the conversation, and I'm glad that it was able to flow, and you guys all had some great input. Thank you guys so much for being here. Next week, just kind of going along to piggyback off of what we're talking about today, one of the major things that we need to do to change the laws like this stupid-ass panic law is we have to vote. We have to contact our representatives. We have to use our voice. We have to be visible, and we have to say that enough is enough. And so next week on this show, we do have our Florida state representative. We were trying to get Mr. Andrew Gillum on the show, who's running for Florida governor, but he's a very busy man. But we were able to get the next best thing, who's running right next to him, is for another seat on the Senate as our Florida representative. Mr. Carlos Smith will be here next week with us, and I'm really excited. We're going to talk about voting, the importance of the trans community getting involved. Mr. Smith is a gay Hispanic male himself, and so it's always great to have that kind of representation in Washington. So we're really, really excited about that show. Tune in. Make sure you guys are voting. Again, thank you guys so much for being here. Panelists, you guys can end the call whenever you want. I appreciate you being here. If you guys don't have anything else to say, if you have anything else to say, go ahead. But if not, you can end your call whenever. Thank you so much for being here. And for those of you guys that are watching, keep watching. We appreciate you. We love you for exactly who you are. And we appreciate your support. And share this video, guys, because there was some good stuff here. So share this video and make sure that other people are in on the conversation as well. We will be doing this again. Thank you guys so much for being here. I love y'all. I'm hungry. I'm tired. I'm sleepy. We're out of here tonight. Have a great night. Thank you so much. Bye, guys. Bye-bye.